Once you start to understand how you create yourself in space-time, okay, or what point of view you're seeing your limitless self from, then you can go, hey, I don't like it here. And you can naturally move to a better version of yourself. Space-time is any mathematical model which fuses the 3 dimensions of space and the 1 dimension of time into a single 4-dimensional, say, manifold. And a lot of us, you've probably seen the Einstein model, right? Space-time is a fabric, and then planets around the sun, they orbit, and that's because of the depression. I don't see it that way. I see it very, very differently. Space-time to me is more of a molecule or an actual element itself, just like you have the natural elements, the base elements that, say, create this reality, like, say, hydrogen, right? Or oxygen. These are base elements that, when you put together, they can make different elements, like, hydrogen peroxide or water, or again, it's a mixture, combination of 2 elements coming to create another one. So to me, instead of the periodic table, we go much, much deeper into, say, the quantum realm, okay? And past the quantum realm, I would call it, say, pure physics realm. So you have Newtonian physics, the quantum physics, and then it's pure physics. At that level, space-time actually becomes an element. And that element is that one key component that creates everything here that we see. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but I was talking to a couple of physicists, and my theories that I'll be discussing on this podcast on what space-time is about and how it all works, it really fills in the holes and the gaps that quantum physicists are having issues with resolving with Einstein's model. And I'm not saying Einstein is wrong or anything like that, but there could be a better model or improved model to, again, fill the gaps and holes that model has in it. And I think it'll also answer a lot of, say, well, it'll solve a lot of questions once we understand that space-time is actually an element. So to put it simply, for those people who aren't scientists, okay, space-time is actually a component that it's like a building block, just like, say, atoms, right? They create everything here, right? Everything is made up of atoms. To me, space-time is a smaller, say, smaller element that creates even, say, atoms, which create, say, the bigger elements that we see, touch, and feel and experience here. So overall, space-time is building blocks of how we render ourselves here. Just like the atom is the building block of everything else here, right? So it's not necessarily, and that's why I have issues as an element, or can we call it something else? So that is the basis of how everything is created. So at that level, it just might be that one, say, element. Does that make sense? It's not like you have plenty of other elements out there. That is the basis of creating any other element. And the way you, say, compress space-time or expand space-time, or how it, say, resonates, dictates on what it creates, what it turns out to be. We can alter space-time. In fact, that's the way I alter or help people transform massively. This is where people become healthy. This is where people, get younger or basically turn ageless. And, this is where people actually can make, be successful and make a lot of money and then be happy at it. Right? Those are all, say, elements of space-time. And that's, and again, that sounds crazy. So, but again, the discoveries that I've had, and then the proof or the evidence behind that is, like, I've worked on hundreds of thousands of, individuals, and they've massively transformed. People who had issues, 20, 30, 40 years of, say, therapies, or not being able to become successful, you edit how they render themselves, right? Renders themselves in space-time, and then their lives change massively. So it goes beyond, say, what's in between your ears. It literally is about how or where you create yourself in space-time, which is basically, most people would consider this the 4th dimension, but most people don't realize what the 4th dimension is. And if I may, I'll explain what the 4th dimension is. Okay, this is an explanation of space-time. Your point of view or your reference changes. Okay. You can do this simply by closing one eye and then closing the other. Do you see how your reference point change? Just doing that, that's how it is. And that's how space-time works. So space-time is literally, say, a filter that you see yourself, or again, a simulation of how you see yourself. So one, if I'm sitting here, the campfire is in front of me, I might be looking at a simulation in this, in this point in time, the fourth dimension, as say, being lucky. In this point of view, I'm looking at the life experiences from, say, the filter of being lucky. Get it? Or the seat of being lucky. So you go to another seat and it's unlucky. What if you were running a filter of being unlucky, being, say, never good enough, being not complete, being abused, being whatever? And this is where the problem happens. It's like, well, I'm in this situation, I'm being abused, and I'm being bullied. I'm going to become successful. It's not a long shot story. A lot of, say, Silicon Valley was based on a lot of people who were, say, nerdy types getting pushed around. They became highly intelligent and go, hey, I'll show the world and I'll become very successful. Now they become either bullies as they grow older, right? Or the success bullies them. So it's not a choice. It's where you render yourself. That's the choice. Get it? And people go, well, I have free will. Yes, you do have free will, but not at the level that most people have. That's why you can't get out. You think that this simulation of you, where you're, again, incomplete, insecure, shortchanged, whatever, or again, in the success story, right? You've been bullied all your life. You become successful. You either bully more people on the other end when you become successful, or your success bullies you. Happens a lot. The key is that the simulation of being bullied is what you're running. You're in the room that dictates you have to be bullied. No matter what you do inside the simulation of yourself, you're going to get bullied. So, and I know it goes like, well, we have free choice and all that. You really don't. I mean, that's a whole different subject we can talk about. But most people aren't awakened enough to create, say, free choice for them. They're literally bound by hereditary patterns. You don't have a choice on how you age. With exponential intelligence, you do, but that's not free choice. The diseases that you get, most likely from your parents, that's not free choice. And so plenty of others. The reason why is because you're in a space-time, say, reality that free choice does not exist, or in that simulation of yourself does not exist. Does that make sense? So to further the analogy of the campfire is your limitless self. Some of you might call it your spirit, but again, I like to use your limitless self. So the closer you are to your limitless self, the more vibrant, the more successful, the more abundant you'll be in all aspects of your life. Okay. The further you are from the campfire, the more you will have to use your resources to become successful, to become happy, to become vibrant. Altering space-time, and most people do it where they're still stuck in the simulation of who they are. Okay. So they basically go, I'm here in point A, but I want to create another version of myself. So the first step is, where am I creating my simulation of myself? What happens is that once you start to understand how you create yourself in space-time, okay, or what point of view you're seeing your limitless self from, then you can go, hey, I don't like it here. And you can naturally move to a better version of yourself, or a better simulation of yourself. So it's not about fixing where you are or who you are or what you are. It literally is like changing the channel or changing a simulation of where you are in reference to space-time. And when you change that, this is where things, well, health issues a lot of times just disappear, because in this simulation, for example, you don't have health issues. I've gone through the experiences, so I'm not observing. It's not a theory. I've literally journeyed out there, and literally I've gone bankrupt, guys. I've gotten divorced. I've gotten majorly ill. I've gone through a lot of those things that people go through. Okay, not everything, because I don't need to go through, but a lot of things that most people go through. and have come out of it even stronger and better, even aging. I don't age like my family. I don't have the diseases like my family does. You know, why is that? Because I've rendered a different simulation of myself that is very different than, say, my family patterns. So how did I do that? By what I just said. You start to understand through spatial referencing, and quickly spatial referencing, just the basic spatial referencing is that you look at objects around you, and then you compare that to where a body part is. So the cabinet's over here, you know, my left shoulder is over here. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but just try it, especially those people who have ADD, ADHD, and so on. You'll find yourself really, say, solidified here and more calmer, because again, you're rendering yourself. And then this is where you start to become highly aware of where you are or how you are creating yourself. So this means that you start to distinguish that it's not you that's having the issues, it's you having a pattern that is causing the issues. So it creates a separation of you and your problems. That's the biggest key. Any other modality, psychology, leadership skills, even medicine, whatever it might be, you are the problem. You are diseased. You are in lack. You are abused. How are you ever going to fix that? You can't, because that's your identity. Even if you do fix it, there's an identity crisis, because then it's like, well, who am I now? And you see a lot of people revert back. This is where addicted people, you know, you're severely addicted, you know, say alcoholic, and then, you know, you went through the 12-step program and then you reinvented yourself. But in that scenario, and in most scenarios other than exponential intelligence, you know, XI, basically what you've done is like you've buried your old self somewhere, and then you put another identity. So you're still in the same fourth dimension looking at the campfire. So you're, you know, an abusive or an alcoholic pattern, right? Addicted type pattern. You've buried that say simulation of yourself somewhere, and then you've added another simulation thinking that that's going to improve, but it doesn't. So again, that's other simulation still dictates who you are. With this gentleman, he was carrying, like, he's got an employee of like over 40,000 people. He's carrying all those burdens, all their burdens. A lot of CEOs run those burdens, right? It's like, they're part of my company, you know, I'm responsible for them. You are, but you can be responsible as, say, a strong leader going, hey, this is the way to do it. Not like, hey, jump on, I'm going to, you know, I'll carry your burdens while you get weaker. So that's what I've done. So now I attract a beautiful woman that is more, you know, self-sufficient, and we grow together, rather than, hey, come on, I'll be that white knight and just, you know, you can, you know, clean your emotionally dirty shoes on me. So that pattern is gone. The more I sacrificed, the more success I'll have. So what do I have to sacrifice to become successful? How many people run those kind of patterns? And, you know, and as, you know, through the near death, it's like, wait a second, in this simulation, you know, in this world that most people run, it's like, you have to sacrifice, you have to control, and there has to be lack. So no matter how much money you have, there's always lack. So you always have to control. And I'm going, wait a second, why is it this equation? I understand it, but it doesn't make sense. I don't like this equation. So you create another simulation of yourself in the fourth dimension, where that simulation dictates that you don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to, again, destroy or control others for you to become abundant. There's a simulation of you, or a doppelganger of you, that dictates it could be another way. It's a whole different way. The internal self is still the same. Get it? They still age like their parents do. They still get diseased like society does. They're still running under the same paradigm, but they're just, say, they dress better and they're better off. They go through the process of being themselves at a higher level of, say, luxury or comfort. With XI, it's a lot easier because, you know, say you have a session with me, or even if you did the 18 days or some of the other programs that we do for you, you literally, within a very short time, or like if you have a session with me, it's like literally, I can tell you exactly where you are in space-time and the filter that you're rendering, or the lens that you're looking at life through, just like that. So you know exactly where you are, which is literally over 50% of the problem, because most people don't know why they have the issues that they do. So space-time in XI, exponential intelligence definition, is like what coordinate are you, say, creating or rendering yourself in the continuum of space and time. So what that means is, what reality are you creating yourself in, and then what time frame are you creating yourself in? Okay, and the lecture series will get more and more into that. If you want to do it on your own, you start observing. Don't worry about the mental space. You start observing points of reference. Again, visual references around you is the main reference here, but sounds, like notice the sounds where they're coming from, and notice any part of your body, like the back of your head. And again, it sounds crazy, but try the method before you question. If your method isn't working, no matter how successful or not successful you are, then you might want to give it a try. It's pretty simple, right? Just try. Again, the object is over there. My chest is over here. The object first, and then a body part. Just think I'm a crazy person. Just give it a try. Give it a try for 1 week. That's all I ask. Okay, it's pretty simple. Not even a week. Just try it for a couple of days. You'll go, oh wow, I'm more centered, more calm than ever. And you think it's a far off concept, but when you go to raw nature, what does it do? It forces you to be present moment. It's a hack on getting you, in raw nature without having to trek out into raw nature. And it actually has the same, say, euphoric experience, by the way. Where you can actually handle. So once you get into yourself, you start to observe those patterns that aren't beneficial for you to stay centered in space-time more and more. And then for my example from the past, as you center yourself more and more, or understand where you are in reference to the campfire, you get closer and closer to the campfire automatically. If you're observant of where you are, in that fourth coordinate and in your head, you'll have better ideas. You've tried psychology, you've tried motivation, you've tried leadership, you've tried whatever, even drugs or medication or surgeries, or, whatever that's out there, and your life is still the same. The reason why, like I said, is because you have to understand how or where you're creating your simulation of yourself. So space-time, once you understand that's the basis of all aspects of life, and once you understand space-time and how to edit it or change it, your life can massively transform. It doesn't take decades to transform your life, right? And the way you can find out more about it, again, is 18-day hyper meditations, where we can, say, transform your life in just 18 days, just by listening. That's how powerful the frequencies are, because it's not psychology. It's not state changes. It's not raw states. It literally is, hey, you're over here creating a rendering, which isn't that great. Let's just move you over here. And within 18 days, you actually do change. Right? The Moss on Sunday, it's on every Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Central Time every Sunday. You can go live on there, and I can analyze you and actually tell you exactly. I don't need to know anything about you, but I can tell you exactly, what's going on with your life, on why your life isn't the way it should be. Again, I don't need to know your name. All you have to do is on the comments or on the chat, go, hey, Moss, scan me. I'm new, scan me, and I can just analyze you. Okay? That's how powerful my abilities and your abilities are, actually.